Hey Forkers, it's me Spoon, and you found your way to the ArtTheFork YouTube channel. I've got a journal page for you today, start to finish, and for my inspiration I'll be using Mike Deacon's January 2017 Mission Inspiration prompt. I know I'm a little late, but I just couldn't pass this one up. Okay, so for our first step, which is to glue down torn pieces of junk mail, like any good Spoonie, I'll be using the envelope from a medical bill. It's nice to be able to put those to some good use, right? This is actually from when I had sepsis back, 3 or 4 months ago. Now I have sped this up because I didn't want us to be sitting here all day watching me tear paper. It's at about 3 times speed. About Mission Inspiration, it is the brainchild of Mike Deacon, who is a great art journaling YouTuber. I'll link to him down in the description. And every month he puts out these mission briefs, like you saw when I showed on the screen a little bit ago. This year they have 8 steps, and then also a suggested color scheme and some words across the bottom to help get your mojo flowing. The best part about Mission Inspiration is that there's actually also a Facebook group, which I will link to down in the description below, where people can share the pages that they've done. So it's a great place to go if you have journal block or if you are just looking to try some new things. I'm always impressed by the techniques I see there. So I'm going to be gluing down the pieces with some generic matte medium. I think I got this at Walmart for about $6. I will be using my fingers. I just have always been drawn to using my fingers. I don't really like brushes. Excuse me, I can't talk today. Because, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Now, you can buy barrier creams to put on your hands to keep things from getting through. I am allergic to a lot of stuff, which kind of makes it odd that I always use my hands, so I don't usually bother with that. I just wash them really good after and put on some baby lotion. So after having torn up the pieces, all kind of roughly, not looking for the same size or clean edges or anything like that, I've started adhering them down at the bottom there, and then I will just continue adhering them in those diagonal lines of the matte medium. Now, this may be a little jumpy here because I not only sped it up, but I cut some out, again, just to try and respect everybody's time. The original was like 3 hours, I think, and I cut it down to a more manageable about 18-19 minutes. Okay, so the next step is to add strips of ribbon or trim. So I found some old blue ribbon in my stash, and I do attempt to adhere it down. Later on you'll see me take most of it up because I just really didn't like it, but I'm giving it the old college try. So the brown thing you see under my work there is a non-stick craft sheet by Ranger. I really like it because it keeps my work area more clean, makes it easier to clean up. But I have to say, if I was going to buy another one, I don't think I'd buy one from Ranger. They're kind of expensive. I would actually go on Amazon and buy a baking sheet. My better half has one and his works just as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a heavy coat of matte medium over the ribbon to try and get it to stick. And the journal page I'm using is actually just scrap watercolor cardstock that is heat press, so not heat press, cold press, so it's got a little bit of tooth to it. And this is just scraps I had left over when I made circle journals. I just cut circles out and then punched holes in them and hold them together with book rings. Well, I had all this left over, and I thought it would be really cool to use that as a journal as well. So I didn't even worry about them all being the same size or anything like that. I just hole punch them, and what I do is I work on a page, and when it's finished, I add it to the book ring. Eventually, I'll go back and do the back of it, or I may decide to put some journaling on the back there. So now I'm moving on to the next step, step 3, cover with gesso or paint, and I'm just adding some water to my gesso to thin it out so that nice texture and color of the envelope still shows through a little bit. Now, something really neat about gesso is it goes on very white, but it tends to dry a little more transparent. That being said, I still want to make sure I have a really light coat, so I am wiping some of it away with a baby wipe. just to, like I said, keep that neat pattern from the envelope showing. The matte medium did not really stick my ribbon down very well, so I ended up having to kind of gesso it in place. Baby wipes really are an art journaler's best friend. There's not a whole lot of medium that won't come up with a nice wet baby wipe. And you can just get them in bulk at Walmart. You don't even need the ones in the plastic containers. In my experience, the refill packs do just as well. So I'm just cleaning up my art area there a little bit to avoid making a huge mess. Although I can't say I always do that. I do tend to be kind of messy. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next part of it, which is to add some paint. This is sort of step 3B. I wanted to add some color in there. So this is just cheap Craft Smart paint from Michaels. I think they cost me about 50 cents a piece. I will, on my Tumblr, ArtTheFork.tumblr.com, post a full supply list for this page if you're interested. We also have a Facebook group, and I would love to see any pages that you guys make, whether that be mission inspiration pages or something else. And I really think that with the new redesign of the prompts, these prompts could be used for a lot of things. Art journaling, you could take just the suggested color palette and use it for crochet. You could take the words and use that to prompt some creative writing. I think that this day and age, there's so much pressure to define art as one thing or another, and I really don't think it needs to be that way. I think anything can be art if you put enough thought into it and enough creativity into it. So, in my typical fashion, I'm just applying all this paint roughly with my fingers. And not really looking for anything in particular at this point, just enjoying looking at how the colors blend. I'm not really cleaning my finger in between colors, although after using this dark color, I will switch fingers for the lighter colors to help preserve them. But I'm just kind of enjoying the meditativeness of it, right? Like this part took me about 45 minutes because I was just enjoying the relaxation of putting paint on a page and not really having to think about it. And it does kind of look like a mess for a little bit. Art journaling can usually be that way. Things can look terrible for a moment or two, and if you just keep going and let your artistic intuition speak to you, it'll come around. Okay, so now what I'm doing since I've got all the paint applied, is using a baby wipe to take up some of it and kind of smooth out the blends a little bit, kind of blend everything together so it doesn't look quite so rough. And I do apologize that I went off of frame a little bit there. This is one of my favorite techniques. Looking back on it though, I do wish I had mixed the paint with glazing medium, because glazing medium would have allowed me to take it up a little bit easier. You can get glazing medium anywhere you can get paint, really. One of my favorite brands is by Liquitex. The bottle I've had for about 6 years, and it's still got plenty in it, and I love to glaze things. So the reason why things are coming up a little bit rougher is because this paint had taken me so long to put on that it had dried some. Had the paint stayed not dry, it would have come up much easier. So after blending the page a little bit, I decided it needed a little more yellow. There was too much blue in there. So I mixed up some more yellow and I'm adding it back. I will then sort of blend that with a baby wipe as well. In fact, it looks like I went through paint a couple of times trying to get everything correct. That's the great thing about art journaling. Nothing is final. You can always add another layer. I've added sometimes so many layers that when you get done, you can't see the first couple. And sometimes people feel like that's a waste. I mean, you do all this work, you put the supplies down, often supplies that cost you quite a bit of money, and then you can't see it all. And the thing about it is that that's really kind of okay, because it was all part of the process to get you there. Oh, my phone's going off. I'm sorry about that. I thought I had turned it off. So, I'm just going to go ahead and let you watch me putting the paint down, and then I'll be back with you after we get on to the next step. Okay, so you're going to see me pull up the painting and then it's going to jump to me placing a Smashbook pocket, or looking at placing a Smashbook pocket, and that's because I took some time to clean up my art area and didn't want you to have to watch me clean. So the next step says to add some secret journaling. Because of the way that I'm going to be doing it, which is adding journaling to that Smash pocket, and there you see me pull up that piece of ribbon that just wouldn't behave, I went ahead and skipped it and went down to adding a focal point. Now, for some people, secret journaling would just be journaling around on the page in a way that wasn't necessarily readable, but I had a better idea. I raided my stash and found a pocket that was meant for a Smashbook that was quite popular several years ago. They were books that came with a pen that had glue as well, and you were just supposed to glue things down in them as you saw fit. They had great pattern papers in them and were sort of a cross between a scrapbook and a journal. So I'm going to be adding my journaling inside that pocket, and what you see me doing here is using Peacock Feathers Distress Ink to sort of color that pocket. And distress inks are water reactive, so I did put on some water. I didn't like it as much after I wiped it away though, so I'm adding it back, and kind of just kind of playing with that color. I do like the way that because the ink's on there, you can see the pattern of the pocket a little bit better. So now that I've got everything adhered, my focal image is actually a piece of ephemera from Smashbook as well. You see me going through my Smashbook pads. There was all kinds of great things that came with Smashbooks. They're made by K & Company, and you can still get them, but they're not as well covered, or carried rather, in stores. And these notepads were like journaling blocks that they put out so you could add things to your Smashbook and have a place to write. So I'm just kind of going through the various options I have until I find a journaling block that I like. This one of this fellow with his mouth wide open, and I'm adding my secret journaling there. And actually, my secret journaling is about starting the YouTube channel, because when I looked at the prompt, I saw that word Genesis, and I had been thinking about starting a YouTube channel for a really long time, and decided it was time to put my art where my mouth is. And that's why I chose this fella with his mouth wide open. And what I'll be doing then is placing my journaling into that pocket, by way of making it sort of secret journaling there. And the focal image just came in a pack, and it says, "Life is the greatest adventure." And then in the small print it says, "Unless, of course, you're talking about adventures in dirigibles." And I just really love that image, and I love the way that it fits with the color scheme. And I'm writing the details on the front of that pocket with a little arrow to remind myself that there's something in there without really giving away what it is. I'm sorry that things are a little bit off frame here. I'm going to be working on that. I have some things on order to help with my filming setup. And in order to tie the pocket into the page a little bit more, I went through my stash and found some travel stamp sort of stickers. I think they might have actually come from the same ephemera pack, because Smash for a while was putting out ephemera packs where you'd get 20 or 30 pieces of ephemera kind of themed together in a way. Okay, so now that I've got everything adhered down, I'm moving on to step 6 and just splattering the page with my Tim Holtz splatter brush and some white paint. Now, I did adhere this down with just a tape runner that I got at Michael's for about $3. I find that in most cases works pretty well. I think I did have to add some matte medium to that big square because my tape runner was not cooperating, and I got a little annoyed. That's one of the great things about mixed media. We have numerous products that will achieve the same end, and so if one's not behaving for you, you can move on to another. Now, I do like my Tim Holtz splatter brush, but I have thought about also getting a fan brush, because I feel like when I see people using a fan brush, they get more control over where their splatters go. Tim Holtz splatter brush definitely makes some great splatters, but I don't feel like it has a whole lot of control to it. So here you see me trying out some different washi tape. For step 8, add a frame or a border. I end up not really liking this one and switching to a different one. But I turned the page upside down a few times and really tried, because I really wanted to put some sparkle in there. It's not like me to have such a muted, respectable color scheme, for lack of a better term. I like brights and neons and sparkles and that kind of thing. I'm kind of outspoken, and my art definitely mirrors that for me. After I finally decided that the sparkle wasn't going to work, I got some washi tape out that had some stamps on it to kind of harken back to that pocket up there to kind of make everything cohesive. Now, often when I am working with washi tape border on a page where there's not a page behind it already done, I will go ahead and just wrap the washi tape around to the other side. I feel like it adheres better, looks smoother than trimming it off. And it also kind of gives a jumping off for the next page on the back. It's nice to not always have to start with a blank white page. That being said, I do kind of prefer these kind of art journals that are bound after they're finished and not before, because it gets rid of the worst kind of bleed through, which is the bleed through onto a finished page. There's nothing worse than creating great art and then moving on to create more great art, only to have the new art ruin the old. Although some people view that as character. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Please check us out on other social media platforms and come back. We post new videos every Monday and Thursday. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed the art you made today. Bye.